But let's talk about the big thing that came out. So there was a movement a while back called Free Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that had been going around. It kind of got set up with Maximilian Dude, and then it started spreading like wildfire and whatnot. Shout out to him. I really enjoy watching his stuff. He's just a funny guy. But
he knows not to take it too seriously.
No, not at all, not at all. And he's really good putting on. He's a good entertainer when it comes to fighting communities. Just talking about fighting games in general. But anyways, when we got the announcement that Marvel's Capcom 2 is coming back in a cabinet form with the collection of every Marvel's Capcom, that's pretty cool. And then the $600 price came on there, and I think a lot of people are taking it as, yes, we are excited that some shape or form we're getting Marvel's Capcom 2 in our hands again in some shape or form with the rollback netcode, the online, and everything like that for every single one. I think it's every single game, I believe.
It is. Let's see, 8 games on it. I'm looking at the arcade 1-up right now. Wi-Fi enabled for online play. It doesn't say if it's online for everyone without watching the live stream.
Okay.
But I think the one that really counts for people is Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah.
That's the one people really care about.
Yeah, so, and I believe they're doing the Naomi edition, so it's not like the PlayStation 2 edition, or I don't know if the Dreamcast one was a Naomi edition or not.
Dreamcast was had the Naomi board technology in it.
So they're using that edition, hence why the screen is smaller for the arcade.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
And you know what? People are going to bitch about those small screens. Like, who cares? It's just you and that other person. Play.
Right. So, on the positive, awesome. They got it. The movement showed and got their attention of one of the most popular, probably one of the greatest fighting games for a lot of people's point of view, is coming back in some shape or form so people can get their hands on it. Sadly enough, it has a $6 tag to it, but I guess it's better than nothing, because I think the movement really goal was to bring it back on consoles so people can play it there more.
Yeah.
Instead of the arcade. But with dealing with Marvel and the licensing of these characters, everything, I can't imagine what they had to do to get this to happen. And I'll never know what happened behind doors to make this happen, and why we couldn't get a console edition. We had to get this arcade thing instead. So
yeah, I mean, I think this news was still met with applause and approval. I think it would have been met with more approval. They said, "Hey, guess what? We're bringing all this back in the Marvel Versus collection, and we're going to charge $49.99, and they could charge $60, and people would be all over it. But $49.99, and you get these 8 games, and it's going to be cross-play enabled, and whatever. They would have had people messing their pants. But this works too. I mean, if you could give me a moment, it's Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom, Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, which I actually like that one. Marvel Superheroes, X-Men Children of the Atom, the X-Men Mutant Apocalypse game, which that was a single-player beat-em-up. It was kind of like Final Fight with Street Fighter moves in it. Mm-hmm. And Marvel Superheroes in War of the Gems. So which is another beat-em-up. Mm-hmm. So 2 beat-em-ups and 6 fighters, which is actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think people would still be even satisfied if it was just Marvel Capcom 2 only, too. So it was nice that that the $600 tag comes with a little bit more content. So that's good. But the question, too, is, like, would you take that, or would you just take Marvel Capcom 2 by itself with a lower price, like, say, $300, right?
Well, for a lower price, $300 is not low enough. I mean, I'll put it this way. The arcade 1-ups, the one cabinet that I wanted for myself, I'm not paying $700 for. The one cabinet that I want to get for my dad, can't find it anymore, and I'm not paying the aftermarket or the gray market price for it.
Okay.
Arcade 1-up cabinets are awesome, more or less, but they just still seem a little too high priced. Just a little too. Sorry, 1 second. My Shih Tzu is barking at nothing. Artemis, shut up. So, yeah, I didn't want to blow anybody's speakers out with that.
So then, what is the ideal price for you for arcade like that for them to put all those games in? What's the goal?
If it was all 8 games, I would willingly cough up $400 to $450.
Okay.
I know inflation, scary language, but I think that's for $400, $450. Considering what comes with it, because it also includes a matching custom riser, $500 is my ceiling. This is not a $600 product to me.
Okay, so the question is, what would it take to be $600 to you? More games?
No, not more games. It would have to have what it has, custom riser, also include two stools to sit on.
Okay.
That's to me, but that's a weird thing for me because if I'm going to pay $600 for an arcade cabinet, I want the arcade experience. I want to sit down and get in there.
I feel like that's a Retro Pub in Oklahoma should get that arcade cabinet. They would get so much traffic if they had that cabinet there.
Yeah. The kicker is the maintenance because arcade cabinet maintenance in general is a dying art. It's a dying skill. There's not a lot of people who can properly maintenance those, or who have the parts and the training to do it. So, I mean, I would love to see that at Up Down or the Retro Pub Flashback or Round One. But Round One probably has the actual candy cab. So, I would love to see that. I agree with you. They just better be prepared to repair them because when people hit those sticks, you've seen how hard people can hit some sticks.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm hoping, like, in the future, we'll get, like, an awesome, like, I don't know, like an SNK cabinet with all the fighting games on there, like your King of the Fighters, and maybe, like, Capcom versus SNK, and SNK 2 could make it on that cut and all that stuff, because that'd be really cool. Even though I know they'll also charge $600 for it, but that'd be still kind of...
Yeah, they're charging a pretty decent price. I mean, on good news, Arcade 1-Up does do clearances and price cuts. Like the Simpsons arcade game, it was $700, it's down to $400. It's like, okay, that's a little bit more reasonable. The X-Men arcade game is down to $500. But
it's that Marvel tax. That Marvel tax.
Huh?
That Marvel tax.
I guess, and it's not even the 6-player version; it's the 4-player one. So whatever.
So it comes to the golden question here. I think that I even heard Max a Million Dude mention, and I want to ask you this: do we think this is the last of the Marvel vs. Capcom? Do we think another entry is going to come in the future, or any shape or form, or do you think this is like the last hurrah, and we're going to be moving on from here?
Not as long as there's money to be made, man. Maybe it's the cynical old capitalist in me, but as long as there is blood in that stone, even if it takes 5 or 10 more years, there will be more verses. It's inevitable.
Okay.